Hello, second graders. So good to see you again. In case you forgot, I'm Miss Watt, and I'm going to be filling in for the first half of Miss Daly's class. So today, she's a really fun activity planned for y'all, but first you're going to have to get to the lecture. So we can start. Can everybody come join me on the rug? All right, wonderful. Now that everybody's here, we're going to get started on this little activity before the lecture. So can everybody look at this picture and think really hard? Don't say anything yet. Just think about it. So think what this picture is and what it does. When you're ready, raise your hands. Okay, looks like I have a lot of answers now. So Simon? Okay, so yes, Simon, you are correct. This is a key and it unlocks and opens things. So we're going to move on to the second one. So this one is a little bit harder. This is another type of key. So can anybody look at it and tell me what type of key it is and what it does? Okay, so this one looks to be stumping people a little bit more, so I'm going to help you. So this is a key, but it's also called a legend. So the way it works is it unlocks information. So for example, this right here, the third one down, the blue would be like, let's say a river. So it's telling you that over here is going to be a river as well. So it's another type of key, it's just unlocking information. So we're going to move on to the third one. Again, think about what this is and what it does. But raise your hand. Okay, Carson? So you're correct. This is a key and it is used to unlock a car. So we're going to have one more. Again, think about what this is and what it does. Okay, Sam? Okay, Sam, you're correct. So this is a set of keys and it unlocks doors. So it looks like you guys have a pretty good understanding that keys are used to unlock things. So we're going to take that and we're going to apply it to something different. So I know that you've read several books this semester, and some of you might not quite understand these books, which is absolutely okay. So we're going to learn today how to understand these books by learning about the setting, the main characters, and the main events. And we're going to learn how to define these using key details. So we have a little video here, and this little video is going to kind of tell you what you're going to learn today. So make sure you pay attention to it.
Identify character setting and main events in a story. Reading books can be really fun. We can read about many things like what's going on in the world, talking animals, and fun activities such as sports. After we read a book, we want to share it with others. But how do we know what to talk about? What do we say? There are three main things to talk about: the characters, the setting, and the main events of the story. The characters are the who of the story. The setting is where the story takes place. The main events are what happens. Now let's use it with a real story. This is Bob, who lives in a little town on a tropical island. Bob isn't the same as other boys. He is special. Bob has superpowers. He can fly, he can run really fast, and he's really strong. One day Sally came running over to him. She looked scared. "A cat stuck in a tree," she screamed. "Oh no," Bob said. "Can you help me?" she asked. "Sure," he said. Bob used his superpowers and flew to where the cat was stuck in the tree. He got there just in time as the cat was blown out of the tree, and he caught it. He walked the cat to Sally and set it down next to her. "Thank you so much," she said. "I'm glad you got there in time." "You're welcome," Bob said. Now let's talk about the story. The characters are Bob, Sally, and the cat. The setting is the tropical island they live on. The main events are Sally asking for help and Bob saving the cat. Now you can talk to all your friends about the stories you read. Have fun!
So the video you just watched told you a little bit about main characters, setting, and main events. So this video is also going to be on your class resource page if you need it for when you do your work at home or you would like to show your parents, or if you even just want to watch it again to brush up. So now we're going to find out what is the setting. So the setting in the story is where the action happens. The setting is going to be your big where. So this is going to tell you a little bit about your character as well. It's going to help set that stage for the character. So an important thing to know is physical setting can symbolize important ideas. So for example, if the story took place in a dark, gloomy forest, one might think that the story is going to be a little bit scary and eerie. Something important to know as well is that your setting, it could change throughout the story. So now we're going to find out, how do you find the setting? So there's several questions you can ask yourself. What is the time period of the story? Is the story happening in the future? Is it happening in the past? Is it happening in the current time? Is it happening in medieval days? These are important things to know. Another question is, what is the time of day when your story is happening? Is your story happening in the morning? Is it happening in the evening? Another one is, what is location? So where is your story happening? Is it happening on a beach? Is it happening at your house? Is it happening when you go for a walk? Lastly, what is the season? This could tell you something too. Is the story happening in the winter when it's snowing, or is it happening in the spring when it's beautiful outside? So we're going to do a little activity. So I want everybody to think about, sit there and think that we are in a story right now. So if we were to be in a story, can you think about what one aspect of our setting would be? Close your eyes and just imagine it. And then when you have an answer, raise your hand. Okay, looks like we have several answers now. So Billy. So Billy says, our story is set in the classroom. Okay, so Billy, that's correct. So what did you ask yourself to find that out though? Okay, so you asked yourself where the location is. That's awesome. Can somebody tell me what answer they got when they asked themselves, what time of day is it? Okay, so Sarah thinks that our story takes place during the morning. That's true. So we could say that our story has a setting of in the morning in our classroom. So I think that would help us understand our story by telling us that our story is going to be about our morning at school. So now we're going to learn about the main character. So the main character in our story is going to be the actor. This person is the one who everything revolves around. They're the one who does everything, and they're the one who everything affects. So think of this as your big who. Your setting is your big where, and your main character is your big who. So who can be the main character? So a lot of times you'll see your main character is a human. But a lot of times you'll also see that this main character is an animal or an object. So don't be surprised if you see that in a story. That could still be your main character. So Junie B. Jones is a great example of this. All of the stories in the Junie B. Jones series are about Junie B. Jones. In one story, she misses her bus. In one story, she opens a beauty shop. So all of the stories in this series are about her. So I think it's safe to say that she is our main character throughout her series. So there's several questions to ask yourself when you want to know who is my main character. So the first question to ask yourself is, what does the story tell me about my character? So for example, does the story tell you that Junie Jones doesn't like dogs? Another question is, what does my character feel? For example, I could say in the book, Sarah was sad when this happened. So you understand how the character feels. Another thing is, how has my character changed? Throughout a story, the main character will usually change in somehow. For example, you could be sad at the beginning of the day and then happy at the end of the day, or you can be 13 in the beginning of the story and 14 at the end of the story. So usually a character will change somehow throughout the story. Another one is, what does my character do? Does my character walk to school? Does my character go for a run? Does she go play soccer with her friends? An important thing in a story is, what does my character do? So a good reader should ask themselves, define the main character. What does the story tell me about the character? What does my character feel? Has my character changed? And what does my character do? So think about it again. Think of our class as that story. So I want you to think about, who would the main character be if the classroom was a story right now? We already know that the setting is the morning and the classroom. So who is that main character? Okay, so it looks like you guys are a little stumped on this one. That's okay, it's really hard. So the main character of this story would be me. Everybody that has responded to the questions or that is sitting here is going to be a character in the story as well if they're mentioned. But the main character is myself, because all of the action is happening around me. I'm doing the talking and I'm in charge of the action. So another question would be, have you found anything out about me throughout this lesson? So say this was the story. What does your character do? How does your character feel? What's changed? So think on it. Okay, so you learned that I'm filling in for Miss Daly. So that is correct. So that is something I do. So again, you've learned about the main character. I haven't learned anything about you guys right now. So it's safe to say that you are not the main characters. So I know that's a little hard. So just to put it together, our setting is our big where, our main character is our big who. So the setting of this is the classroom in the morning, our morning in the class. And then the main character is who? Me. And actually, Miss Daly is coming back right now, so she's going to take over. So I've really enjoyed teaching you guys for now, and I'll see you again next week. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss Daly, and I'm going to be taking over this lesson from Mrs. Fott. So in Mrs. Fott, y'all already went over main characters, setting, and questions to ask yourselves to help locate the main characters and setting within a story. So we are going to continue with that trend, and we are going to be talking about main events. So the first thing is, what are main events? The main events are the big things that happen in a story. These are going to be the events that move the story along and change the story's action. Because imagine a story where nothing happens. No new characters, no action. You know, that can be pretty boring. I don't know if that's a story I would really want to read. But main events are what kind of add that richness to a story and create adventure. So, we've been reading Wonder as our read aloud so far. And one example of a main event is when Jack sat down next to Augie in homeroom. Because that was what kind of sparked their friendship and helped them start hanging out. And think about how different the story would have been if that friendship had never formed. Augie would have never really started to feel comfortable at his new school if he hadn't become friends with Jack. So, with knowing that example of a main event from the book, what's another example of a main event from Wonder that y'all can think of? Wow, that is a great example. Someone said when Augie won the award at the end of the year. That's a great example of a main event. because think about how that show changed through the story and changed the actual story that happened. Because in the story, Augie was not very comfortable at his school. He was very shy. People didn't really like him. It was a really hard time. But then the award he got at the end of the year showed a lot of change because it showed that how admired within his school he was and what a change and impact he had. So that was a great example of the main event. So now we are going to talk about how do we find the main events in a story. We've been talking about questions that we can ask ourselves to help find them. And so some questions we can ask ourselves are, did this event affect the story? Do we meet new characters or see new settings? Did the event teach us something? And would the story change without this event? These are some questions that are going to help us identify if that event was really important to how the story plays out. So they really all focus on finding out new information and looking at the effect of certain situations and events on the rest of the story. Because that's really what a main event does, is it changes the direction of how the story is going to go. So, what I want y'all to do is I want you guys to think of our day as a story. Think of your day so far as a story. What is one example of a main event that has happened so far? Wow, that is a great one. So someone said when we get to school. So why do we think, how would our day have been different if we hadn't come to school? Like, how did that event affect the story of our day? That's exactly right. If we hadn't come to school today, then we would not be learning this lesson, and we might or might not be at home doing nothing. So it's changed the course of our day. And so our story wouldn't have been the same if we hadn't come to school. So that is most definitely a main event in the scheme of our day. So, a quick check-in. Does anybody have any questions about what Mrs. Fott and I have covered so far? Okay, perfect. Feel free to ask questions as we go through to make sure that you're truly understanding this information, because we have an activity coming up that is going to require you to apply what you've learned so far. So, today, for that activity, what we are going to be doing is everybody is going to receive a worksheet like the one over here in the nice teal blue with the giant key on it. And everybody is going to be assigned either setting, main character, or main events. And you are going to be asked to find 3 big or key details from the text and create a prop with paper and colored pencils that represents what you've learned from those 3 key big details. So someone asked, what is a prop? So a prop is going to just be a picture that you create that is going to represent what you've learned from that key detail from the text. So I started talking about key details. Does anybody have any idea about what a key detail is? That is exactly right. Someone said, I think key details are the important details. And they are very important. That's why they're called key. Because in the anticipatory set that Mrs. Fott did, you guys learned about how keys unlock new information. And so key details unlock new information within a story or within a lesson. So what are key details? Yes, we know they are important, but what are they more directly? Key details help answer the who, where, what questions that we have about a story. So they help give us more information that really help us get a better picture of what is going on within a story. They also serve to describe the main events, characters, and setting so that we have a better idea of who our characters are, what they stand for, what our setting looks like as far as time period, as far as weather, whatever you can think of. And they even help us get a better idea of what essentially happens within those main events. So, how do we find key details? So a couple questions to ask yourself are, did I learn something new? Was something revealed that I didn't know before that has an impact on the story? And then, did it answer a question? So think about those who, what, where questions that we've been discussing so far. Did it answer any one of those? Did it help you answer a question that you had about a certain character or something that they did? If so, it could be a key detail. And then, does it describe anything about the character, setting, or main event? Because when we find out more information about those main components of a story, it's pretty key. So I want you guys to again think about our classroom. Imagine someone coming in who has never been to our classroom. They don't know us. They're coming in for the first time. What is a key detail about the setting of our classroom to someone who's never been here before? Someone said we have a lot of anchor charts. So why is that a key detail? What does it, do people learn something new about us? Does it answer a question? Does it describe something? So someone said people know we are learning about money. So they learned something new about us, and they learned about our setting, that we had anchor charts. So that is a key detail. People learn something new about us from our setting, and that is a key detail because they know what we're learning about. Great job, y'all. Okay, so earlier on we talked about that how everybody's getting assigned a setting, main character, or main event from a story, and you're going to be in charge of creating a prop that represents something you learned from a key detail from the text about that main character, setting, or main event. So these are going to be the 4 books that we are going to be working with to create those props and find those key details. And so someone is asking about our activity. So I'm very excited about it. I think you guys will enjoy it, but I will go into more detail about that later. And then someone asked, can we choose our book? No. The groups have already been assigned, and you've been assigned a book to go with your group. So there will be no changes. You're going to stick with who you are, with who you're with, and you're going to stick with the book that you're assigned. And so, real quick, in conclusion, I just want to wrap up what we've learned so far today. So, we learned about the setting, and what is our setting? Yes, it's the where. So it's the time, it's the weather, it's anything having to do with the environment of the story. And then, what is the character? Yes, the character is the who. It's the person who's performing the action. It's the person who's involved with the telling of the story. And then, what are the main events? I guess I kind of gave you the answer. It is the what. So it's the exactly what is happening within the story. What's the action? And so the setting, character, and main events can be determined by the key details that give us more information about what is going on in the story. So now we'll get into a little more about what we are doing with the activity and what's expected of y'all today. So for our independent portion of this lesson, what you guys are going to be expected to do today is once you are assigned your book and your group, and you've chosen your slip of paper to figure out whether you're working with main characters, main events, or the setting, then you are going to be given the planning worksheet with the big key over here. I put it off in black and white, so I'm sorry, it's not teal anymore. But you're going to be using that key detail sheet to help. You're going to put the title of your book, the aspect that you're focusing on, and that's going to what's going to help you plan out what your prop is and the key detail that helps you justify why you chose that prop. And so we're going to be working on that. But then you're also going to be filling out a note card explaining exactly the why behind your prop, using the key detail that you found in the text. So you're going to give an explanation of why your prop represents a key detail that told you something new about the story and the aspect that you're focusing on. So, what are we focusing on today? Yes, so today you guys are going to be focusing on filling in your pre-planning sheet, the key detail sheet, and your note cards. And then as far as tomorrow is going to be when you get to do the creative aspect. You're going to be able to color in your props, cut them out, and then glue your prop to your note card so that they're easier to keep track of. And then you will also tomorrow be in charge of taking your props and presenting them with the other two people in your group to another group so they learn about the story and what the main events are, who the characters are, and what the setting looks like. And then we're going to create kind of a little time capsule so that then in the future, if we forget about the book, we can just read our note cards and look at our props to help jog our memory about what happened. So, what are we going to be doing tomorrow? So yes, tomorrow we are going to make our props and present our time capsule. You guys have done wonderful today. So in just a minute, I'm going to release you to come up to my desk and you're going to collect your materials. We are going to break up into our groups and we are going to get started. You guys were wonderful today.